Hey guys, as you can tell from the title, this is my story dealing with dyscalculia. And for those of you who don't know what dyscalculia is, I actually have a medical definition. Dyscalculia is a learning disability associated with the inability to comprehend numbers or use them in working mathematical problems, as the numbers were like letters of a foreign language. Which makes it very hard to do math. My problem with it is most of the time I do mix up my numbers, or if I'm dealing with something like an algebra problem, calculus or trig, I mix up numbers, and half the time I don't really see the numbers, so it makes it very hard to work with it. And basically it has ruined my life. Made me very depressed. I felt stupid, even though I knew I was far from stupid. My grades in my other classes reflected that I wasn't stupid. It made me feel alone. Even today, it still makes me feel like that. I wasn't diagnosed until around my 21st birthday. I was actually diagnosed by a friend who actually was going to school to be a learning disability teacher. She diagnosed me when actually balancing my checkbook was what it was. I was balancing my checkbook and I had to have her check over it. She's like, "Why do you need me to check over it?" She's like, "You have a calculator." I'm like, I don't know if I'm seeing the numbers correctly. For me, adding and subtracting, multiplication and division, I kind of just mix up my numbers every once in a while. I'm like, I want to make sure, that I have it right. I need you to check it. She was like, "Oh, so you have dyscalculia then?" I'm like, "What?" She's like, you mix up your numbers, and she's like, sometimes when you're doing something hard with numbers, you don't see them. I'm like, "Yeah." It's like, "You have dyscalculia." She's like, "Your math grades weren't really good in school." I'm like, "No, they weren't." And that's kind of how she's like, "Yeah, we just read about that," and she's like, "You're showing the signs." She's like, "It doesn't seem that you're severe." She's like, "You're doing basic math. You're just mixing up your numbers." She's like, "So it's not severe. It's only when you do a lot of numbers at once then it's complicated." I'm like, that's pretty much all where my trouble is. But going from that in school, middle school, well, actually the problem started in middle school, but elementary school, I did well in all my subjects except math. I kind of made like B's and like low B's and high C's and low C's throughout middle school. Through elementary school, it's like, yeah, that's to be expected. You always got that one subject you struggle with. It wasn't until middle school that it really started getting to me. The teacher would go over problems, and I'd be like, "Does anyone have any questions?" And I would always raise my hand. This was an everyday thing. After a while, the teachers would get frustrated with me, and they're like, "If you did the homework, you would understand it." I'm like, "I did the homework. I even did the extra homework sheets you gave me. I just don't get it." So she would get frustrated. The kids would laugh and call me stupid, and I actually hated it. This pretty much continued all through high school. Like, pretty much there would be days where I'd have to leave my class about maybe 15 minutes before the end of the actual class and excuse myself and grab my books and stuff and go to the bathroom. And I would literally sit in there and cry. because I was terrified my next class would be math. I would just sit there and cry because I was so scared of what teacher's going to say to me. Knowing I wasn't going to get what was going to be taught that day. And listening to the kids laugh at me was horrible. Most people are like, oh, you shouldn't let them get to you, but I'm like, I'm a soft-hearted person. I take everything to heart. Everything. So that just terrified me. Even today, I'm still terrified. I think only since being diagnosed, I think pretty much a couple of the friends I went to school with, I'm still friends with today, suspected something was wrong. But back in the 90s when I was going to school and the early part of the millennium, there was no way to diagnose this within the school system unless you were very severe. I'm not that severe because I can do the basic math fine, except for sometimes I switch them. Like I said, sometimes I switch the numbers. Like, you'll see a 42 and I will see a 24. It wasn't all the time. It was just when I'd be doing numbers for so long. But I got to the point where I was only failing math every year, failing, like, I'd make F's. Like, even going to summer school, I would not be able to pass it. I mean, I'd pass. And summer school was able to accumulate, not a passing grade, but enough to combine with my points from the previous year to pass me. But, when we got into high school, it got even worse. And then when I eventually had to just drop out of school and do homeschooling because my math grades are so horrible. I knew there's no way. The qualifications I needed to graduate, it would not have happened. It wouldn't have happened. So I dropped out. I went to homeschooling. After about maybe a year and a half of homeschooling, I decided that maybe I need to go on this alone. Maybe I can, do it better. Maybe if I just use the computer. So I started doing that, going in alone, and it helped a little bit, but not enough for me to pull off a passing grade. So I dropped out. That year, I eventually went to an online site to get an online high school diploma as Continental Academy. Did all my classes, because you had to start from freshman all the way to senior, so I did all my freshman classes except for basic math. Freshman basic math part 1. And then I did my sophomore, junior, and senior except senior math part 2. And pretty much I did well on the first one because it was pretty much just, adding, subtracting, multiplication, division, decimals, percents, and stuff like that, and like little bit of geometry. I got that no problem. I think I made a low B in that class. I'm not sure, but I think so. But and I got to my second part. I failed it 20 times. And the way that is set up is you can't make lower than a C. Like, you will fail it, but it won't count. If they won't give you a failing grade on it, they'll make you retest it, retake it, and retake it, and retake it. So after the 20th time, I'm like, you know what? I've had enough of this. I opened a tab to Google, and I would copy the formula, I'd paste it in Google, and I would search for the answer, and I would find it. In other words, I didn't have to cheat. because I wasn't getting it. So I actually got an alternative high school diploma with that, but I was trying to find a career that I could go to college for that I won't need like advanced math for. Like if I could have something with basic math, I'd be fine. So I spent a few years thinking about it. I actually had 3 I wanted to drive for. I wanted to do cosmetology because I do love makeup. I wanted to do pharmacy technician because I have done some of that work in a farm tech at Northside Albertsons. Actually got in a bad wreck and I had to help out. I did everything but pretty much fill the prescriptions and give out medical information, so I really did enjoy that. And there's also the medical office assistant. That was kind of like a big part of my actual job, was to, you know, kind of get all the files and stuff and help reorder the supplies and whatnot. And I really did enjoy it, so I think that's the one I really want to go for. So once I kind of had those 3 narrowed down, I was going to check out colleges. And all the colleges around here, the technical, the community, Remington, Unitec, they all said because the funding they receive that I will actually have to have an actual high school diploma, like I literally went to high school and graduate, or a GED. So now I'm fighting to bring up my math to take the GED. Last time I took the test was practice test actually. I'm not gonna go spend $90 on a test I know I'm not gonna pass. But I made a 371, and I just took the test like last week again, and I made a 380, so I got a 9-point difference, which is good, but it's not fast enough for me. Because pretty much I've been looking at colleges and stuff since about the end of December, beginning of January. And I know a lot of y'all thinking, like, those of you watching this video know me, like, why don't you go to UL? I'm sorry, I'm not gonna pay a fortune to go to UL. I'm sorry, I'm not. Even though they would probably have the people that could teach me, because they do have people who specialize in learning disabilities. But I'm not going to go to school during the day. I want to keep my full-time job during the day. And plus, it's like being at school, it's too many people in one classroom. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on, not a lot of time to really cover everything. So it's like, I don't want to be put back in that situation again. And that's pretty much what caused me to drop out in the first place. But I'm really looking at Unitec. They don't have a lot of students. They do both day and night classes. First thing I asked them when I went in there was, I'm looking to go to college, but I do have a learning disability called Dyscalculia, and I was like, do y'all have anything that can help me? They're like, yes, so like a small setting like this, like we do, is perfect for anyone with a disability in learning, because we have smaller classes. We focus on one subject at a time. So from like 4:30 to 9 o'clock, you'll be on one subject. There's plenty enough time for the teacher to cover whatever you don't understand. Plenty enough time for you to go one-on-one whenever you need it. It's like if you need to come in and use the library and get a tutor, like we will have that provided for you. So I'm really looking forward to trying to go there. But once again, I'm trying to find every which way to bring up my stuff, get to where I can understand it. Oh, people are like, oh, well, it's easy to memorize mathematical formulas for you, but for someone like me, I can't remember any mathematical formula. I can't. because of my disability, it won't allow me to. And trust me, that's like the biggest part of my problem was in middle school and high school, is I could not remember what formulas to use with what. I would end up leaving half of it off or just not doing it right. For certain things that you had, like certain ways you needed to do the last part, and then you needed to go to the middle, and then you needed to go to the beginning, and then, you know, stuff like that. I just can't remember it. There's a mental block about it. And it's not something I can take a pill and be better. It's something I was born with. You can be born with it, or you can actually get it by a traumatic brain injury or something, but I didn't have a traumatic brain injury as a child, so it's just something I was born with. But there's something that's good about it. It's like people with a learning disability learn more on the right side of the brain than the left. And because of that, because the right side of the brain is the more artistic side, we do tend to be more artistic. Like, I cannot draw for absolute shit. Like, I can make a stick figure look bad. Where my mom, on the other hand, I don't know how, but she is like the most amazing artist. Like, she used to draw little Bambi little scenes for me, because I remember that. I remember I used to hang them on my wall all the time, like Bambi and Thumper, like in the field when they meet the skunk, and I remember she had the skunk rising out the flowers just like it did in the cartoon. I didn't receive that from her. I can't draw. I like to paint, even though you need to be able to draw to paint real well, so I just stick with the paint by numbers. But I have trouble with that too, because sometimes I don't see what number I need, and I have to go ask somebody, like, what's this number? And they're like, that's 5. I'm like, they're like, okay, you can't see it? Like, no, I can't see it. So I go see what I do for number 5 and do that. I love to dance. Not that twerking stuff or that the stripper kind of stuff that people do on the dance floor. Not these days. I'm like, I don't really like to do that, but I like to actual dance. Like, I like to do some of the line dances because I think they're kind of fun. Like, especially if what was it? When we had, Graham Central Station, like, every time a line dance would come on, everybody would come from all over in the club from the different rooms and come into that main room, and everyone do it. I thought that was fun. I like to do waltzes and stuff like that. I'm really good. I really do love music. I played in the band from the time I was in 5th grade till the time I dropped out. I played the flute. I tried to pick up the violin and the guitar. Well, I picked up the guitar first and kind of played that a little bit. Then I started with the violin after that. But because of my work schedule, I kind of stopped playing, which I need to try to get back to that because I miss playing. I love music. All types, except, put it this way, I like all types except country, zydeco, bluegrass, French music. I think those are the only ones I don't like. But I love, like, opera and classical and rock and pop and punk and definitely metal. Definitely metal. I'm a metal baby. Being born in the 80s to parents who loved rock and metal, so I grew up with that. Like, I just like doing that. I like to do graphics on the computer. Like, I used to, like, when I was being homeschooled, I would actually make little graphics. I would have, like, a little website thing. Like, you have a little blog posts and, like, little glitter images and just, like, stuff like that. It was more related to anime stuff. Yeah, it's more like for little anime stuff, like little glitter images and, like I said, little blog posts and stuff like that. I don't remember all I had. I had like a lot of different things. I used to do that, but once I started working, I kind of really fell behind, so I just took down the site. And pretty much makeup, those of you who watch my channel know I do a lot of makeup, and it's kind of like painting for me, so I think that's why I really love it. And pretty much anything artsy I really enjoy doing. Like, that's my thing. I enjoy doing it. I think that's why I pretty much wanted to do cosmetology. I really can't do anything with hair. Well, at least not my own hair anyway, but I don't know, I've never done a friend's hair, but I have done my friend's makeup. A couple of friends, I would do their nails. Like, they'd get the stuff from Sally's Beauty, and I would sit there and I would do like a French manicure on them. That's the only one I know how to do, because I spent, from the time I was 16 to now, I would go get my nails done like all the time, except recently, in the past 2 years, I really haven't gotten my nails done. Because after a while, you know, it doesn't cost much to get them, but it's like every few weeks I have to go in and refill it because my nails are gross of it so long, so that part got expensive, so I just kind of stopped doing it and just started doing my own. And it sucks because I just did these today and they're already chipped, like really, really bad. Because all I use is this. But yeah, I think that's the only blessing I've forgot out this curse. And I do feel it's a curse. One that I have to work extremely hard at. Like, I used to actually get mad at the students in school because some of them would not do homework, not pay attention to class, sleep in class, don't even come to class. Waltz in, take the test, leave with a passing grade. Well, I was getting called the lazy kid. This is a horrible experience, and it still is, because I'm still afraid. Like, pretty much, one of my friends that is going for therapy, Rachel, she's like, all your problems pretty much stem from that. From your dyscalculia. The feeling of worthlessness, rejection, alone, failure, all comes from that. Which is pretty much from anybody with a ability like that, like anyone with dyslexia, dyscalculia, dysgraphia. Pretty much is all lumped in the same thing, and that's what we feel. Like, I don't know anyone else in any of my friends, past or present, that's really had a disability. I mean, plus, like I said, if it's not really, 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 really severe, they don't diagnose it. Like, I got put in resource and 504, and they were like, yeah, this should have helped. Oh, you're taking a open book test. I'm like, I don't see the numbers. I can't see them right. And they're like, stop making excuses. So they stopped putting me in those classes. And like I said, time I went to school, they really didn't know about this, because it actually affects like I think 15% of the kids in America, from what the study shows now. And it's like 15% in America. That's like barely nothing if it's spread out. That may be like 1 or 2 in this city, you know, maybe 10, 20 in the state, you know. You know, it's stuff like that. It's like there's not enough of us, and some programs, like I think here in the US, I think they have Sylvan that helps out with that. I'm not sure. I mean, I've heard, but I just don't think so. But I know I looked up learning disability, like Dyscalculia, tutoring centers or something, and I actually came across one from the UK. It was like the top thing. It was like the Davies Learning Foundation. I'm like looking at that, I'm like, oh my god, they should have something like that here. They really should have something like that here for people. It's like something that's designed just for that, not for someone who needs just a little extra help. Like the Sylvan, that's just a little extra help. This is something much bigger than a little extra help. Like they need that. Because maybe I wouldn't have dropped out and I would have graduated with my friends and been happier. I'm so scared. Depressed. I still am today. I know it's hard for me to talk about it. I know some people are like, why cry over something like that? You don't know until you're the one going through it. Because I wish it was like ADD. Take a pill and it goes away. Well, it doesn't completely go away, but it helps you. There's nothing like that. It's something we have to struggle with every day and try to make it better. And that's me like wondering, why make this video? So people can understand what it's like. And I know I'm not alone. There are others that have not the same disability I have, but something similar, like dyslexia and dysgraphia. And feel alone. Like even my boyfriend, I told him I had it, but never explained it to him. I know he didn't do well in math either, but I don't think it would be anything compared to me. He just may have not gotten a couple of things because maybe it wasn't taught right to him. But I went through every kind of learning I could do to get through this. And it's really, really hard. But gotta do what I gotta do. I want a better future. Something I can do. And hopefully one day I get there.